Welcome to the Lonestar Collective Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. I'm joined by co-host Gramps this week and Austin Zamhariri. Right now, we've got Trey Phillips joining us for our live broadcast, the end of year Extravaganza.
Well, real quick, Jesse, where all are we live right now?
We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter.
Yep.
Nice. All right.
Nice.
This is where I try not to make any mistakes.
And there is Mr. Dalton O'Neill of Greenlight Events.
Hey, what's up, friends? How are y'all doing?
Good.
Good.
Look at those curls, man. I like it.
I know they're coming in. Appreciate the love here. We're trying.
Yes,
I got my Oak Cliff hat on because I know the Oak Cliff Christmas party's happening right now.
Right. I know. I'm trying to make it out there I'm trying to make it out there before we head out. But
Nice.
when we were talking about this last month, this show, what we wanted to do, something that I was real passionate about was let's make this kind of like a end of the year tribute to other organizations in our team, kind of our sponsor shout out. And so appreciative to have you here, Trey.
Yeah.
And all of the dedication that you've poured into the community over the year and over the years, frankly. And then Dalton as well with Greenlight Events and Texas Cannabis Roundup and just all of the support that comes from your side. We're just really appreciative to have you guys here, and we'll go through and kind of talk about the year. And Chris, Jesse, what do you guys have?
I'll let Jesse lead off.
Well, I appreciate you bringing me in here, Austin. Just happy to be a part of the community. Seeing Gramps forever now. Love seeing Gramps on the podcast. Love seeing Gramps on LinkedIn. Love Jesse always writing articles that hold folks accountable, and love what Trey and Thrive are doing out there in West Fort Worth and bringing it to DFW. It's really awesome to see all this happening. So appreciate you bringing it together, Austin. You got the best podcast, best platform. It's great. Happy to help and support.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you, Dalton.
What do I have? I have patience to get to the end of this year.
We're getting close.
Well, real quick then, let me tee off, and let's start with you, Trey.
Sure.
What would you say? What do you take over the last year as positive successes for the Thrive organization, and maybe even for you personally?
Sure. Yeah. It's been a great year for us and really for cannabis, especially in Dallas, Fort Worth. Really have seen this explosive growth. I mean, obviously, your THC derivatives like Delta 8 and your hemp-derived Delta 9 has really fueled this interest in hemp, cannabis, and specifically Texas cannabis. And so it's been really cool to see all these different organizations and companies really coming alive from Texas within the cannabis community, everything from, media to the growers to the retailers. And so that's been really exciting. We looked at some numbers at the beginning of the month, and I think we've had something like 11,000 customers come through our door in 2022. And so
Wow.
for us, we're really excited about that because that just shows us the message is spreading, within the community, and people who a year ago in 2021, let alone in, 2018 or 2019 when the hemp bill was signed, who had never considered a cannabis product. We know some of those people are now coming in and trying it and going out and telling their friends. And so that's been really exciting. As well as the medical cannabis program that we have. We're almost to 4,000 patients on the medical cannabis side. And so just really seeing, pretty explosive growth on both ends of it. And again, the positive we take out of that is the message about the plant is spreading, and it's just going to become more and more powerful as this momentum builds. So we're just really excited about how 2022 is shaping up to end, and really looking forward to 2023.
Yeah, 2022 has been an explosive year, like you say. I'm amazed. You're up to 4,000 patients now, and that's how many would you say of those are veterans, Trey?
I'd say probably probably about 65%. Yeah, we have a really large veteran population, and great group to work with. They're very appreciative, and I mean, just a very humble group. And so we really enjoy our veteran population that we have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We were just joined by Jay McGuire. He's joined us in our end of year extravaganza. We lost his video there for a moment.
Sorry, guys. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties. Just give me a moment, please.
All right. Life is full of those.
Dalton, what do you have slated for the rest of the year?
Oh gosh. Well, this 6-person Zoom is kind of reminding me of COVID. When everybody was like, I remember one New Year's Eve, it was like everybody was on Zoom hanging out. It's like, oh, should we get beer here? Like, why am I drinking right now in my house? And I just see on everybody's face, it's fun like that. And the people coming in, half the stuff, it's just great. What was the question, Austin? What's up with the rest of this year? I'll pull up my calendar. You know, I'm one of these old school calendar guys in the events game. You got to have the calendars. I mean, really, I might go to the Dallas Jingle Bell Run. We got New Year's stuff, staying as active as we can. I don't think there's much more hemp and cannabis stuff going on. I mean, the bill's getting pre-filed. It's always something going on, but not much the rest of this year. I think we're going to have a big Q1, though. And really, I mean, everybody's just hitting the ground running.
Yeah, I think everybody's getting ready for the holiday season, kind of locking low, getting ready for, one more, just kind of holiday run. And then I think everybody's ready to get their hands dirty in January.
People are ready, man. Again, with the COVID stuff, last year was 2021 and COVID was still kind of bad, right? Like COVID canceled some Christmas parties.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was
2021. Yeah. This year people are meeting up. People are hanging out. The hemp community never really cared because everybody's blowing smoke at each other anyway. But, it just seems like the full stuff is there. I mean, you just go to Grapevine Mills out there where you're at, Austin, or Gaylord Texan or North Park, the Christmas spirits everywhere. So I'm just happy to get some good vibes before the real work starts here in January, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Jay, thank you for joining us, our little Brady Bunch screen of weed.
Happy to be here. I have the stomach flu, guys, so I apologize for coming to you from my bed.
Oh, no.
I know it's been really rotten the last couple of days, but here I am. That's dedication, fellas. If you don't care about cannabis in Texas, this is it.
Wow.
For sure.
Thank you. We appreciate the stamina and the desire to, be with us and be vocal.
Well, let's get what you've got on your mind out in case you have to dip out.
Well, I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that our great nemesis, Senator Charles Perry, true to his word, has pre-filed a bill that, Senate Bill 264, that I strongly suspect will not be the iteration of the bill that comes up for a vote in his committee. If you remember, in the last legislative session, Senator Perry came up with a committee substitute right as we were headed into the committee testimony and into the markup, which is the second hearing. So while and I'm going to say this bill will ban our products in the state. We also we have information that he's going to try to ban flavors, which was an angle of attack that was considered to be used against vape, which is sort of in some ways the predecessor to hemp and hemp-derived cannabinoids. And many of the businesses that we represent were in the nicotine vape business before, or still are. And so it absolutely is vital that everyone in this industry, whether you're a big business or a small business, pay attention. My role, the Texas Hemp Federation's role in this legislative session, we're going to pay particular attention to helping to coordinate the grassroots effort, meaning average Texans, everyone from people who use our products to mom and pop CBD store and vape shop owners that sell our products, to manufacturers and distributors, we're going to bring them to the Capitol. The goal will be to pair average citizens with their member so that they have at least one, if not two, touches to that member's office. One of the things that a member cares about is their constituents, of course. But if they don't hear from you and they don't know that it's of concern to you, and we understand that this is a culture war issue that Senator Perry and his superior, our lieutenant governor, may decide isn't worth the effort. If we are able to make the case that enough Texans want to use these products, care to use these products, and rely on them for such things as what we testified for last session: anxiety, inflammation, pain, general wellness, sleeping. So you'll see our group in the Capitol in the first couple of months doing the very laborsome work of bringing people to the building, training them up on how to say the things that need to be said. I'm not going to put words in their mouth, but it's not always easy for someone who's never been in the Capitol to know exactly how to present themselves. And we will be working some with the Veterans of Foreign Wars, who I think are going to do an outstanding job of reframing how this issue looks to conservatives. I think I've made this point before, that it's extremely easy to otherize or to marginalize people who are minorities, who are black or brown, or of a particularly or of a different political background. But it is very hard for a Texas Republican to denigrate a Texas veteran. And veterans are using our products in their vast numbers, and it's important for the legislators to hear that. So that's our goal. The Sky Marketing Lobby team will be out in force just as they always were. They were last legislative session. And keep in mind that the lawsuit remains pending in the Court of Appeals. So you remember we're operating right now under a temporary injunction that we obtained, I guess it's about a year ago, that could bust loose from the Court of Appeals at any moment. I will tell you, my experience working in the Capitol and having managed lawsuits is that sometimes legislators, when there is a major issue in before the courts and pending before the courts, will say, well, this is kind of a thorny matter. It's got some constitutional questions, and we really think let's just wait for the court to handle it. And would you believe, though, he's no longer on the team, but Scott Field, our appeals court, former appeals court justice and appellate lawyer, said, yep, sometimes the appeals court justices say, well, the legislature is taking this up this session. Why don't we wait and see what the legislative branch decides to do? It would be a huge win for us if neither of them decided to do anything. So I'm not going to bet any money on it, but if I had my wish for 2023, that would be it.
Are you saying, just to clarify, are you saying that maybe less is more?
I mean, yes, in a state where we have conservative government, less is more is supposed to be our mantra. In this case, maybe it is.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I like how nothing happening is like a win for us, because we don't lose anything.
We're just trying not. Hey, sometimes you don't got to win the game; you just got to try not to lose, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's always
right. The World Cup of cannabis here, going for a tie.
Well, from a 10,000 foot view, I mean, look, City of San Marcos just is asking for Attorney General Paxton's help on what this even means. You have the city of Denton moving forward with decriminalization. So, like, it's not. There's multiple things here. It's not like it's offense versus defense. There's the special teams. There's the fans getting involved. There's different counties, district attorneys. I mean, I mean, Austin, we know people that have been growing weed in Corpus Christi for like 4 years because their district attorney said it was cool. So this whole state is fragmented, and we're losing the tax, we're losing this. So I'm with you. I think less is more here, but also we have a lot right now. Like we actually have a decent amount of stuff going on right now. So if we can just hold it here and get some good commerce, get some stuff on the books to let it go through. But
just one. Let me interject one thing though, guys, because I do have to work in that building. I am not here. The Texas Hemp Federation is a hemp federation. The day will probably come when we start to shift our focus to the legalization of marijuana. But for right now, with hemp-derived cannabinoids like Delta 8, legal in Texas, maintaining that legality is our number one and only focus. I'm not against legalizing marijuana, but it's a whole different endeavor from the one we set out for to embark upon here. But I see it coming one day. I suspect strongly, though, that the propensity of our Republican leadership to use issues like this as culture war issues, by which they maintain their majority and their hold on the statewide offices, cannot be underestimated. So,
it's getting to be that time.
For their ire, this is the route we're going to take.
Let's get to be that time. We need to go into sponsor break. We've got some questions coming in. We'll start answering some questions. We come back from our sponsor break. We're the Lonestar Collective Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. I'm joined by co-host Gramps and Austin Zamhariri this week. We'll be right back after our sponsor messages. Oak Cliff Cultivators is a sponsor of Texas Cannabis Collective and the Lone Star Collective podcast. Oak Cliff focuses on quality assurance with their hemp products while providing customer service to help you discover cannabinoids to meet your needs. Their product line includes hemp flower, pre-rolls, CBG tinctures, edibles, Delta 8, and merch. For more information on their products' quality or to shop online today, visit oakcliffcultivators.com or contact them at info@oakcliffcultivators.com.
Thrive Apothecary offers an experience truly unique from anything else in Texas. A full-service cannabis solution that is doctor-owned and offers customers every level of cannabis legally available in Texas. From traditional CBD products to emerging hemp-derived THC edibles, smokables, and now medical cannabis. As a licensed medical cannabis provider, prospective patients from anywhere in Texas can book a sponsored online eligibility consultation to determine if they qualify for a medical marijuana prescription from the comfort of their own home. Plus, for Texas veterans, the first prescription appointment is donated by Thrive. Visit thrivetx.com for more information.
Welcome back to the Lone Star Collective Podcast, the official podcast of Texas Cannabis Collective. Distributed on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Facebook, and much more, to give Texans information regarding policy, industry, and culture. Here is this week's host, Jesse Williams, and Gramps.
Welcome back to the Lone Star Collective Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. I'm joined by co-host Gramps and Austin Zamhariri this week. We've got guests Jay McGuire, Trey Phillips, and Dalton O'Neill with us. Dalton O'Neill of Greenlight Events, Trey Phillips of Thrive Apothecary, and Jay McGuire of the Texas Hemp Federation. We left off was talking about there was actually some questions that were coming in because our wonderful live broadcast system here allows us to respond and get messages. And people are asking, is there any strategy for opening the medical program more?
I can answer that. I know that there is going to be an effort to add to the list of covered conditions. I think it's really unfortunate that the list of covered conditions is a politicized process and not really based on actual medicine or health and well-being. It's based on whatever Senator Perry decides is appropriate, meaning that he said I'm quoting him, we have that thing so tightly constructed that nobody can get high. And now I'm paraphrasing. Nobody can get high off of it. That's just so wrongheaded. But I think his convictions on this are honest. He is simply wrong. So when people whose family member has a need for medical cannabis have to come to the Capitol, unlike in other states where the health agency, evaluates conditions based on the best medicine has to say about it. I think it's unfortunate, but that's how it is here. I know that some of my friends that I know from the medical cannabis on the patient side will be in the Capitol, and also the veterans groups will be doing the same thing. So I wish them good luck, and I'll do whatever I can to help too.
I'm curious, Trey. You
Sure.
you and your team have been embedded in medical cannabis and have been dealing with patients who have been operating under the Texas Compassionate Use Program for a couple years now.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on how things might play out, or what a potential expansion of the Compassionate Use Program might look like?
Sure.
Coming out of the other side of the session.
Sure. So my view and the view of my wife, Dr. Lisa Gardner, much like Jay's, is we firmly believe that really a politician has no place in this decision. That this should be between a patient and a medical provider on the best treatment for a patient. Now, we know that Texas isn't a cannabis utopia yet, so that's not going to happen. But I certainly do believe there will be some kind of expansion, whether that is more conditions added to the list, if it's a THC concentration expansion, something I think will happen. But between that and then Senator Perry's bill going on, I mean, no one really knows which way they're going to have to pivot or what we're going to have to do when the session is over and September 1st rolls around. But I definitely think there will be an expansion. What that is going to look like, I think it's anybody's guess at this point.
And real quick, let me round this into you, Dalton. You just got back from the Taste of Texas Hemp Cup, surrounded by a bunch of people who are big stakeholders in the Texas cannabis community. What is the environment like? What is kind of the word on the street, you think, that people are talking about, with hemp in the cannabinoid sector and things like that moving forward?
My take on it, not just the Taste of Texas Hemp Cup, but a couple of the things is, a quote would be like, all politics is local. I think there's a podcast named that or something that I got that from. People that are in New Braunfels or in certain counties that have already have decent tolerance. Cops aren't looking for that. It's the same way as jaywalking. They're moving differently than these rural towns. So for them, some of these folks have been a non-issue. Like we talked about a few years ago, Austin, it's hard to get the folks in Austin, Travis County to show up because they've already had de facto legal weed. They just aren't commercing it in the correct, appropriate way. So, I mean, I think it just depends where you're from and what your business is like. I've seen a lot of people moving away from Delta 8, going to hemp-derived Delta 9, trying to stay away from any, debated cannabinoids that they can, just trying to keep it simple. That's kind of what I'm seeing is people trying to getting, folks already going to childproof packaging, even folks IDing, I've got to say, hey, we got to show IDs and stuff to kind of show, hey, we're open to some regulation, but we're going to draw the line somewhere, because some of these real operators don't want it to be the Wild West. They want it to have some legitimacy to what we're doing. So I don't know. I think really it's depending on where you are and the operator, for lack of better words, the cojones on the operators, because they're pushing it far. I mean, Austin, like we talked about, there's gas stations that are doing this, and then we find Love's won't take CBD products. So the discrepancy of like what's happening right now between real retailers, establishment ones, and just what's happening on the streets it's bewildering. That's why the government's, I mean, they're missing out on so much money here. And then another conservative talking point is we're losing revenue. There's already lawlessness for most of the part, without proper testing, and a lot of people not using the right standards that can't. I mean, you go into a random CBD store, gas station, say, where do you get this test? They have no idea. It's not labeled correctly. And I'm not out here screaming I want regulation, but it's like, hey, what's going on here? Can we at least understand? So, Austin, to answer your question in short, I think it's really geographically located depending on where you are in Texas. Some people are not worried about this at all.
Houston's not worried at all.
They're not worried. Houston's not worried. The Hill Country's not worried.
It's funny. It's funny that you say that because we have a new retail location in Parker County, which is just to the west of Fort Worth. And just in the 6 weeks that we've been open, we have received a much different reception from the government in Parker County than we have in years in Fort Worth. So we've, I think, had 3 code compliance inspections in the last 6 weeks. I mean, little things like that. So there definitely is a major difference in the localities that these retail establishments are in.
I'd say one more thing to add on. That's a great point, Trey. Austin, remember, because you're old enough to remember, all these hemp people at one point wanted a teacup license. Like, we could pull the list of 43 names. A lot of them were teacup applicants. And what I'm seeing now is a much bigger divide. It's kind of the we are or we are not. Some of these hemp folks are happy to sit in their hemp lane, and a couple are moving dirt, getting shovels to apply for medical license. I know of a couple of big time grows popping up all over, thinking that somehow having a big grow, 6,000 square foot indoor facility is going to get them somehow in line for a teacup license. It might not. I don't know. They could change the rules. I'm not reading the bills, but there's the difference of the people jockeying, growing top shelf stuff, operating with total compliance, and kind of, I don't want to call them the lawlessness, but kind of the people that are just hustling entrepreneurs that are really for the culture. It's kind of like the suits and not the suits. I hate for it to be like that, but I can see the differentiating of we're gunning for a teacup license. We want to be compliant, and hey, the government doesn't have a hold on this. Let's make money. Let's serve patients. Let's support our local communities. Because again, at the end of the day, I think what we're all after is just safe, affordable access. So as long as these communities have that, I'm not gonna jump in and say, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, shouldn't be doing that. As long as the products are clean, they're tested, the consumers know what they're getting for an affordable price. Like, that's the free market right there. But I can see them differentiating. I can see it differentiate. There's people that are gunning for it that aren't going to tolerate it, and now there's people that are. And I'm not saying they can't be friends. There is a Venn diagram here. I think we all fit in the Venn diagram for the most part. I'm not speaking for y'all, but it's going to get real interesting here because everybody's not on the same side. And there's like this common misconception that we are, and we're not.
And there's people talking about talking with people at Taste of Texas Hemp Cup that they kind of want to be in both spaces as well. They want to be in both the hemp space and the medical space, and they're going to. I'd say some of them are smartly getting ready to use the hemp space to fund their medical space.
In New York, I believe, and we got a site reference, we always trust but verify. I think in New York, if you had a successful hemp business that helped you on the merit-based application. So hypothetically, Texas passes a merit-based application on these things. Maybe having a successful hemp grow will get you points. That I'm not saying that'll happen, might not. It depends what the bill looks like. But it's just, bold strategy, Cotton, to invest in all that and then see, especially with limited buyers and products flowing in from out of state and stuff like that. But I'm more hemp we can grow in Texas, the better. It's just interesting to see how it's playing out.
We'll throw another question up. All questions are good questions here. We want everybody the information they can get. Is all the CBD and medical cannabis in Texas hemp derived? We already know the quick answer to that is no.
No. Trey, do you want to expound on that at all?
Well, I mean, the medical cannabis is grown here in Texas locally by the dispensaries, but there is no requirement to sell hemp-derived CBD that is grown in Texas or manufactured or processed in Texas. In fact, we see a lot of the opposite happening with some of these political bills coming in where we're allowed to sell, as a retailer, I'm allowed to sell certain products from out of state, but I can't sell it from a Texas grower. So I guess the short answer to your question is no, not all CBD is grown in Texas here, but the medical cannabis is.
Another question that came up was, why not ban all synthetics and make safe products? And I got something to expand on that, but I wonder what y'all think about it, Dalton, Trey.
Well, I think you're going to see. I agree with Jay before he had to leave. I don't think the iteration of Perry's bill will be what goes to a vote. I'm thinking there's probably going to be some give and take, that maybe we offer up. I say we, not me, but maybe the hemp community offers up, the synthetics in exchange for, hemp-derived Delta-9 or whatever. But I definitely think that there's going to be some back and forth, give and take. I don't think either side, whether that's, the Republican government or the hemp side, is going to get everything they want. But hopefully, there's some compromise where patients can have access and the Texas, hemp community is not gutted in the process.
Right. Other things like requiring full panel testing. I'm so conflicted with this because I'm a free market guy. I'm not asking for more regulation, but we need some little help. It's like I hate who I'm becoming. like what?
Are you becoming your dad?
I think so. It's I did want to make a interesting point. And I don't even know the third name. We got Goodwin. We got Compassionate. What's the third one? Are they Knox?
Used to be Knox Medical, Consortium. They've had a bunch of different names over the years.
Okay, I have a friend that gave me some intel that representatives from that third company are showing up to certain industry events. I think Metric had an event in Austin trying to roll out Metric, and I think representatives from that third license was there. So we might be seeing a third company come. Back to the first question on whether the Fluent is going to get expanded. Fluent, maybe it's Fluent. I know Fluence. I get Fluence Lighting by Orsom, the big lighting company in Austin, mixed up with Fluent. I think it is Fluent. I can't keep up. I used to know. They changed their name a million times. But going back to the teacup, it might expand with more license holders because originally wasn't it supposed to be 12 license holders?
The mandatory minimum under the original Texas Compassionate Use Act was 3.
Okay.
But they had anticipated, because of the massive size of the state of Texas, that they were going to need 12, specifically with the regulations that you couldn't really you had to transport it within a day, and you couldn't hold it off in an off location, which is still a really terrible problem for teacup. And so they anticipated regional, if you will, licensees who were really taking care of a lot of different regions of Texas.
Like Arkansas, like Arkansas does, how it's broke up cartel style.
So there's a lot of it's very convoluted, to say the least, and there's a lot of dynamic that they're kind of in this we need to provide numbers so we can expand it, but at the same time it's not expanding at the rate that we need it to give it the numbers to grow so that we can use those numbers. So it's just in this catch-22. But at the same
time, people are confused. Remember, they opened up the licenses and all the attorneys were we're about to make all this money filing licenses, and a couple of people started, then they just shut it down. It's weird. It's weird. What this whole situation's weird.
Yeah. And I think it's very confusing for a lot of Texans who, when they start to learn about the Texas Compassionate Use Program and that it's actually regulated by the Department of Public Safety. Why is a law enforcement agency overseeing a medical cannabis program? There's just a lot of things about the program that don't make sense.
Agriculture. Give it to the Department of Agriculture. Let's do it.
There you go. The reason was to deter people from getting involved in it. That's what the reason was.
So it is time for us to go to another sponsor break here at the Lonestar Collective Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. I'm joined by co-host Gramps and Austin Zamhariri this week. This is the Lonestar Collective Podcast live broadcast, end of year extravaganza. We'll be right back after our sponsor messages.
Oak Cliff Cultivators is a sponsor of Texas Cannabis Collective and the Lonestar Collective Podcast. Oak Cliff focuses on quality assurance with their hemp products while providing customer service to help you discover cannabinoids to meet your needs. Their product line includes hemp flower, pre-rolls, CBG tinctures, edibles, Delta-8, and merch. For more information on their products' quality or to shop online today, visit oakcliffcultivators.com or contact them at info@oakcliffcultivators.com.
Thrive Apothecary offers an experience truly unique from anything else in Texas. A full-service cannabis solution that is doctor-owned and offers customers every level of cannabis legally available in Texas. From traditional CBD products to emerging hemp-derived THC edibles, smokables, and now medical cannabis. As a licensed medical cannabis provider, prospective patients from anywhere in Texas can book a sponsored online eligibility consultation to determine if they qualify for a medical marijuana prescription from the comfort of their own home. Plus, for Texas veterans, the first prescription appointment is donated by Thrive. Visit thrivetx.com for more information.
Welcome back to the Lonestar Collective podcast, the official podcast of Texas Cannabis Collective, distributed on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Facebook, and much more, to give Texans information regarding policy, industry, and culture. Here is this week's host, Jesse Williams and Gramps.
Welcome to the Lone Star Collective podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. This week I'm joined by co-host Gramps and Austin Zamhariri. It's our end-of-year extravaganza here at the Lone Star Collective podcast, the official podcast of the Texas Cannabis Collective. And it has been quite the evening so far. I wanted to make a note, though, that if you're interested in having one of those little spots in between the discussions, becoming a sponsor just like Thrive, Trey Phillips here, texascanico.com/contact-us. And you can reach out to us about getting a sponsorship. We will get back with you.
Before we move on, y'all, I'm actually going to have to dip out. And so before I left, I wanted to wish everybody a wonderful Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Boxing Day, Yule, Winter Solstice.
Get them all now. Get them all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get them all. Like, happy snow-nado, you know, like we just had tornadoes up here yesterday.
Chrismahana Kwanzaa.
Yeah. Like, I'm just, you know, very, very appreciative of everybody and their time and just the continued investment of energy, blood, sweat, tears going into this upcoming legislative session, especially to you, Dalton, and your team, Trey, you and your team. Thank you guys so much for all of the contributions that you've given to the Texas Cannabis Collective, to the Lone Star Collective, helping us achieve goals like getting the first image of legalization in New Mexico, like launching a big 100-man march in Fort Worth, by helping to go 5 for 5 in decriminalization votes and ballot initiatives in the November election. Like, you know, we are not able to do what we are able to do without the support of other organizations that, you know, that really put it on the line for us. So before I leave, I wanted to thank you all. I wanted to thank everybody on our team. I wanted to wish everybody a happy holiday season, and that I love you all, and I can't wait for January to come, so that we can show you that the leaders who really care, the stakeholders who really care, are going to be at the Capitol, and we're going to be fighting tooth and nail to make sure that either nothing happens or we win.
Hey, tell Charlie Crockett we said what's up, Austin.
I'm gonna try to. If y'all, I'm gonna try to. If I get a picture with Charlie, I'll throw it up.
Alrighty.
Hey, we'll see you soon.
Take care, Austin.
Be
Love
careful.
I will say, Jesse, those commercials are produced great. You know, what a deal.
Thank you.
They're great. I mean, I need to go to the bathroom. I was like, wait, I kind of want to stay here and watch these commercials one more time.
Well, I appreciate that, because that's pretty much me except for the voice.
There you go.
So we were talking about this bit earlier about why not ban all synthetics and make safe products. And my thing about it is as I saw last session, and it's in the bill this time, is that the bill pretty much says that the Department of State Health Services will define synthetic.
Yeah.
And them synthetic can easily mean, did you do anything mechanical to it or chemical to it? The federal government has said synthetic is basically build something from scratch. That's like their legal court case definition they've come up with over the years. Texas, though, is looking at it like, well, synthetic is really defined as, you change something by being mechanical or chemical about it, which means that any extract whatsoever would be banned overnight. If it passed with that language in it, if you had just pure CBD isolate, banned, because that is now a synthetic by definition.
Yeah, I think it can become a real slippery slope very, very quickly. And, they're going to write bills to allow themselves some wiggle room, I think. And so, yeah, I think we just have to be careful, that we don't open Pandora's box. And before you know it again, hemp is essentially gutted and gone in Texas by definition.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I think nobody wants dirty products out there, but we're not really in the position to be preemptively giving anything away. So to Trey's point, it's like, hey, let's not just come out here and say, let's see if we're going to negotiate this. Let's understand how it's defined, how they're going to define it. Maybe we trade it for something later in the bill session, so we're going to be happy. But I'm thinking where you're at, Trey. I don't think anybody's going to be super happy with the outcome. So we just kind of keep the cards we can, play the cards we can, and see where it falls. But we're not really in the position to be banning anything. We don't have enough to just be giving stuff away right now.
Yeah, that's exactly true what Jesse brought up. Now I was going to bring it up if he didn't. The fact that the way Texas looks at it, if that bill were to go through the way it's written, even what a lot of people call naturally derived hemp Delta 9, that would be banned too, because you put it through an extraction process.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's producers out there like Sweet Sensi that's capable of making an all-natural Delta 8 product as well. And it's because of how much product they process. That I tell people it's the beach, and each beach is made up of little individual grains of sand. And each cannabis plant, the Delta 8 is that little grain of sand. But if you get enough plants together, you can make a beach with those grains, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People don't think about it like that at times. And it's like, it isn't really going to kill Delta 8 off. They're just going to find a different way to get it out of the plant.
I would love to have a fully hemp-derived, natural, non-synthetic Delta 8. Like, if we find that, I want to try it. Like, I really do. I just haven't seen it. I haven't looked that hard. I haven't sent people out there looking for it, but I'd love to try it. That'd be fascinating.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I thought Jesse froze it. Maybe I'm the frozen one.
No, you're not frozen. I see you.
I was like,
now they're moving
again. Did what I say really stun Jesse that bad?
Get this man some natural Delta
thing
8
for me.
Like, wow.
I have a question for Gramps though. Before I have to sneak out in a couple of minutes. So if I know there's a bunch of people watching, a lot of our customers, if I'm an ordinary Texas citizen, maybe I'm really into cannabis, or maybe I'm just kind of new in it, but I want to get involved in this session. What do I do as just a normal Texas citizen to get involved in the process to really support cannabis in any way I can? Are there some simple steps that I can take?
That's pretty simple. One of the things you can do is reach out to us, start to follow our social media, subscribe to our website, TexasTXCanico.com. And we're going to be putting together, that's something we were going to talk about here in a little bit. We're putting together on opening day of the session for people to be able to come to the Capitol. We're going to group everybody together, break everybody apart into smaller groups, and go introduce them to their representative's office, show them where it's at. So anybody that wants to do what you're talking about doing and get involved for the first time, we're here and we're going to be there with you to help lead the way and show you how it's done. Along with, I think Jay and his group are probably going to be there, maybe not opening day, but there's quite a few different groups that people can reach out to. We're part of actually a pretty large coalition across the state.
Let's say I had the little ticker going across the bottom of the screen about going to our site and subscribing, because anytime we have an update, we put an article out. If you're in that list, you get an email about it. And I say, don't let social media algorithms choose what news you get.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, if we're going to be hand in hand with Texas normal Texans for Responsible Marijuana Policy and lobby day events and other stuff. We're sponsoring a training for lobbyists with those groups and other things. So just follow our socials, subscribe to our website, and follow the podcast too. Subscribe to it because we're constantly talking about. I mean, you're going to see Jesse, Austin, and myself in Austin quite a bit upcoming in the next few months.
You're gonna see me so much, they're gonna be like, I'm sick of that guy.
They're going to be tired of seeing us.
I'm sick of his. Yeah, somebody who had asked about the synthetics thing when I brought up they mentioned like, well, then all CBD distillate would be banned, and it's like, yep, that's why we talk about it's a slippery slope because
nobody's advocating. No, I've never met anybody advocating for like fake, fully synthetic products, but it's like the devil's in the details. So it's like, let's see, let's wait and see how this plays out.
Yeah, it's like we have a federal court system to sue these states. It's like, yeah, we've seen where the federal government has said D8 itself is legal, and that if Congress doesn't want it, Congress would change that.
Yep.
The thing is our state can technically be more restrictive as well. The federal government's given each state that ground to move. Texas could literally shut down its hemp program, and we'd have no recourse federally to do anything about it. And I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what happened when the federal hemp program was signed before the Texas hemp program, so there was several months. This is back 2018, 2019 when we were open, and it was federally legal, but it wasn't definitively legal in Texas. It was still, in our opinion, a very gray area. But yeah, when you're operating without any, without a safety net, it can be a little stressful for people. And so if that happens again, you're going to see a lot of operators panic, pull the plug, or there's just going to be a lot of chaos in the market again.
Sure.
So we've got one last one in. Somebody's asking, is there any work towards getting cannabis felons access to hemp licenses? I will say I do not know. I honestly do not know.
No, I haven't.
Is anybody putting a bill forward for that?
I haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything pre-filed that addresses that at all.
No.
The question is, anybody working on it? How is there a statute? Is it a total ban right now for felons to have hemp licenses in Texas?
Yeah, you can't have a prior history.
You can't have a
prior felon history or any drug history with that.
Drug history or felon history. Is Correct. It both? Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's more of it might be part of 1325. I think it may be more of a Department of Ag item when they submitted the farm bill for approval.
It's really horrible advice to have to give. I have a lot of friends moved to Oklahoma, some victims of the drug war. And if you're facing one of these things and want to get involved, you need to go to Oklahoma to try to get in some business right now. I think they have a little more easy, lax statute of limitation laws. They at least have a pathway to license holder status. But in Texas, yeah. And then people complain, why is that not the first thing on our list? And it's like, we're literally trying to like defend the Alamo, like these little, like bringing up, we want felons to have this. And it's like, they're not even trying to list. They're not even listening to logic right now. They're not even recognizing this is all over the streets. How is bringing up this stuff they definitely don't want? So, I mean, it's an issue I'm passionate about. So I have a lot of friends. I have a few friends that are straight victims of the drug war that have been demonized by this. And it's an issue that we're passionate about. And the felon, they really need to come tell their stories. If you have a passionate story about this and you're a felon that wants to work in this, it might be great for you to come share your story. But also, some of those folks don't want to talk about it out loud. So that might be a long-winded answer. What was that next question, Jesse? I love how you can just pop them up and down. That's great.
Well, the person who asked, they brought up, they said, I can't get equity shares. I can only be a manager. And that essentially I'm only allowed to be exploited for my growing skills. And it's Krustin Scarecrow. We've had him on the show about a month or so back.
Yeah.
He's got prior offenses, including stuff with cannabis. So the state's like, nope, you can't be a part of that.
I thought Oklahoma had a 5-year statute of limitations. I could be totally wrong on that because I have a friend that's now that has ownership and licenses in Oklahoma, and his statute of limitation was 5 years. I know each case is different. And he was working towards his Oklahoma citizenship. And that's a tall task to ask anybody. I love Texas, like 8th or 9th generation Texas. I wouldn't want to leave.
Well, I know.
So it's like I know that's a tough situation. But that's something we could talk to lawmakers about and try to make an issue. There's so many. One of my friends said there's no shortage of good causes. There's so many causes for us to go after right now.
Yeah, I know in Oklahoma, Dalton. In Oklahoma now, you have to be a resident for 5 years, or you can't get a license.
It's wild.
Not to grow, not to be a dispensary, not anything. You have to be a citizen for 5 years. Have your primary residence in Oklahoma. They just passed that, I think, year before last.
I understand why they did that. They had people, you had to be an Oklahoma resident, and then they had just companies moving in where one person would become a resident. And they go, oh, look, that shareholder's a resident. We can now operate.
Right. The operating agreement says I can buy your shares back for X amount of dollars. It's wild.
Yeah.
Wild in here.
So do y'all have any other final thoughts as we start to wrap up this end of year extravaganza?
My final thoughts would be just thank you to the cannabis community for all your support. And I really encourage everyone to get involved come January in the political process, no matter what side you fall on. Get involved, talk to your representative, be part of organizations like Texas Cannabis Collective that are really spreading this message and spreading the news. And we'll be down in Austin this session and really look forward to seeing anybody down there. And it's just really been a blast again to be part of this community in 2022.
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts from you, Dalton?
We're just hanging in there. This will be my third session that I've really monitored this really tight. And I've just learned not to get your hopes up with certain things. Greenlight's only committed to one big event in 2023 right now. It's going to be the Texas Cannabis Roundup. I think the Texas Cannabis Collective is going to be our nonprofit partner again. Let's try to come out to that August or September. Check out Texas Cannabis TV on Instagram. We're working on that. And just get involved. I mean, I think networking and talking and asking questions and going to the Capitol by yourself, talking to your lawmakers, bring a friend, ask somebody experienced. I mean, I remember a few years ago, Austin would literally drive from like almost damn near Fort Worth to Denton to go with somebody to talk to their lawmaker. So ask a friend, get involved. It's not the boogeyman it used to be. And I think we're looking for good times here in Texas.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You say don't get your hopes up. I tell people now also, look at every bill that's out there that's been put forward that has something to do with cannabis, because it's always going to be an availability as a backdoor item for something you possibly don't want.
Right.
Yeah.
And I said that last year. People are like, oh no, and the concentrates bill quickly became the backdoor for Delta 8.
Or any carte blanche federal legalization bill. We all want federal legalization, but the devil's in the details there. That might cut us all out of here. So we got to read the bills, do the work, and we're going to see what's going to happen here.
Well, that is going to be. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us, Trey. Glad y'all could make it for the end of year extravaganza. And that'll be going to be it for this episode.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Congrats,
the Lonestar Collective podcast. Your host, Jesse Williams. Man, that is it. This is the last recording for the year. We've still got some episodes that are going to be coming out over the next couple of weeks, but this is the last one we record, and then we'll see you again in the new year in 2023. We hope everybody has a fun, safe, and happy holiday. We thank you for joining us. We thank you for your advocacy with us along the way during the year. The people showed up, they helped out, they did what they could, and we're going to move on to this next year, and we're going to keep trucking along and moving things forward. We thank you for being there with us. Everybody have a safe, happy, fun holiday, and enjoy it with your family and friends.